Commuters in parts of Shanghai can now book a self-driving taxi through the Didi app. So how many of these autonomous cars are on the road now? And what has the reaction been like in these first few days?
Yeah, we run a hybrid dispatch model on the Shanghai Jiading district. So we run somewhere from a few to a few dozen vehicles at the same time. Sometimes they're mixed with our human driving ride-hailing service. The reaction has been way beyond our expectation. We have a very much overloaded um, wish list of people wanting to come over and test the vehicle and have the experience. So our operation team is really working day to day to handle all the requests and having people to come in and give them the right of their what they wish.
And what timeline are you targeting for rolling this test out to more cities beyond Shanghai?
Right now, I think it will. So in Shanghai, we start with Shanghai, but we focused on rolling out in one city and to expand into more complex scenarios and areas so that we can actually help our iteration of technology and so forth. So we're very much focused on Shanghai right now. With that said, I think we have testing licenses in Beijing and Suzhou and a different, also in Mountain View in the U.S. So we're also looking to in running passenger transportation service with autonomous drive in other places as well. As to timeline, we're looking at towards the we're expanding the service as we go, but there's no specific timeline that we pin down as of today.
And you've announced a very ambitious goal that Didi aims to have 1 million autonomous drivers cars on the street by 2030. So what are the biggest challenges to getting those 1 million driverless cars on the streets then?
I think there's a lot of challenges ahead of us in bringing this fully autonomous vehicle to life. There's one big challenge I think is everybody is facing is to get the right product definition, meaning that you want to do enough so that you build a commercially viable case that is scalable, but you don't want to do too much that it extends the technology's limit today. So we want to make a trade-off there and build a right product definition within what we call the operation design domain, which is essentially where we want to run and how we want to run it. And within that, I think there's really three challenges that we see. One is, how good is our artificial intelligence capabilities can support the vehicle to run. And that really runs down to how many corner cases can you solve and how much data you can gather. And two is the hardware readiness. That means the vehicle, when we're talking about autonomous vehicle, they look different from today's vehicle. There's a lot of redundancies, functional safety measures have to be put into the vehicle. And a lot of the hardware have to be reduced in cost over time. And three, we have to really open up regulation over time and help to prove that our system is safe enough compared to human driver so that the regulators will be able to allow us to do more testing and as well as services around the world.
Right now, a safety driver is still required in these driverless cars. At what point do you think a safety driver would not be needed?
I think a safety driver today is sort of like the guardian angels of our autonomous driving system, and they serve very important roles. Right now, we're at the time when we start to introduce passengers to our testing process, so it is very important to withhold the safety standards with the safety drivers. Actually, we have two safety drivers today, one looking at the road, holding the taking over the steering wheel once necessary, and one is looking at the system monitor to observe what the computer sees and does not see. And they will have a special language that they communicate with so that we guarantee the safety. I think in order to take off the safety drivers, there's a few things ahead of us. We have to improve our capabilities of handling those specific corner cases and needs a lot of data. Also, we need to have a vehicle that is ready for driverless testing. That means it has to have full redundancy system in steering and power supply and communication and so forth, and a fallback system that allows the vehicle to handle situation when it sees, really long tail situations when it sees that.
So are you saying?
Go ahead.
Are you talking on a matter of years here, or are you talking a decade until it's truly driverless?
No, definitely years, and not many years.
Didi faces fierce competition in this robotaxi market. You have Uber, Waymo, Cruise, AutoX. So what sets Didi's technology apart from the rest of the pack? What are your advantages and disadvantages?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think we have a lot of talent and a lot of great companies trying to solve this very difficult problem around the world. And they made a lot of progress and made a lot of achievements so far. What I think essentially what it boils down is to two things. One is the AI capability, which really means that how much corner cases you can solve, and that really boils down to how much data you can gather and how efficient can you leverage those data to improve your algorithm. And two is that how quickly can you build up a network of vehicles as well as passengers. For Didi, we have advantages really on both. We have a really large fleet of ride-hailing vehicles that on top of autonomous test vehicles, all of them are gathering road data, and we're leveraging those data to really improve our algorithm. And with that said, we have a readily available network of users on the Didi network. Once we have the autonomous driving running, we can insert those vehicles into our already available fleet and network. So the passenger really won't feel a thing. They will be seamless, be able to transition into an experience with autonomous services.
And when you look at the industry overall, what is the biggest bottleneck to mass deployment? Is it that technology development you've been discussing? Is it regulation? Is it collecting more data?
I think it's all. Right now, I think we're trying to solve, the reason this is a very difficult problem is that it is not a problem only for one party. I think it has to be a collaborative effort across the technology developer, the service provider, the hardware provider, as well as the regulatory body. So we're trying to move this toward in the same direction together, and hopefully we'll be able to solve them around the same time, so that it's in parallel rather than in serial.
And Didi has had an R&D center in Silicon Valley for many years. How have U.S.-China tensions impacted your plans in the U.S.? For instance, has it been harder to hire talent?
Yeah, I think, and that's a great question. I think we have started our U.S. base a while ago, and that our U.S. research center has expanded since to a few, close to 100 people now. I don't think it's really a competition for autonomous driving. This is a really advanced and cool technology trying to solve the problem of efficiency and safety for passenger transportation. And I don't think anybody should compete on safety. It is a humanity problem that we're trying to improve. So we're observing, over the COVID-19 and in the recent time that some of our U.S. counterparts, they are, they have some plans in changing the org structure and leaving some of the talents outside. And I think for us, we believe that this is a problem that is very difficult. We need the global talent base to come together to solve it. So we're maintaining our growth in the U.S. Office as well as in our China office to help to gather more talent and to help to solve this problem quicker.
Could you elaborate a little bit more what you mentioned there in terms of the disruption that the pandemic has had on operations?
For us, I think it means two things. One is for a little while that we cannot do a lot of road tests because the safety drivers in the vehicle, they sit together, so we have to have some protective measures for them. Sometimes we just stop testing for a little while. And also it means that a lot of partners that we work closely together cannot meet face-to-face, and that brings some delay. But I think those, especially in China testing, since China is our main testing center, didn't last very long. It last, probably a month or so. And we're now back to normal in running the process. But also on top of that, I feel overall the public's attention to autonomous driving because of the COVID-19 has bring a lot. This has bring a lot more attention to the public because when we think about transportation, being able to maintain the social distancing, the best way to do that during transportation is to have autonomous vehicles. So that's a lot of positive reaction to that as well.